Hello and welcome to Tina's Joyful Kitchen. My name is Tina McDermott and I am the lazy inspirational chef. I'm a speaker and I'm a weight loss coach. I've been doing this for 21 years and there's no place that I'd rather be than right here, right now in my kitchen, because this is my love and my passion to teach you how you can live a life that's full of health and vibrancy and free from disease, free from diets, so that, yeah, you can find joy in the kitchen, even if you don't know how to cook. Even if you don't like to cook, we're going to find some joy and nourish your bodies and nourish your family and friends' bodies. And have a party in your mouth. My late sister used to say that all the time with certain foods. She goes, oh, it's like a party in my mouth. So we're going to have parties in our mouths with wonderful, delicious food. So let me tell you what we're going to make today. We're going to make roasted vegetables. And if we're lucky, I'm like 2 dishes for you, 2 different kind of dishes. Actually, we are. We're going to do it all. And then we're going to make this wonderful baked oregano chicken. Yum. Absolutely yum, and so simple, so delicious, and incredibly healthy for you, because that's the name of the game, right? We want to be healthy, we want to be vibrant, and we want to be free from disease. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You ready to get started? But get started in that chat box if you are ready to get started. Oh, and I noticed a couple other people have joined in. I'm so excited to see you. What we did earlier is I wanted you to type in that chat box, where are you calling in from and what is your favorite holiday? I love, love, love people who participate. I don't get to see your gorgeous faces, but at least I get to see you in my chat box and I know you're there and you're alive and you're well and all that other fun stuff. And it kind of feeds me a little bit too. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, ready? Let's get the party started. We're going to start. I turned the oven on to 425 because we're going to roast vegetables. And heat is the name of the game when it comes to cooking. So we want to heat up that heat up that oven as much as we can. Okay, so 425 when we are roasting. This particular recipe was given to me from your USEC cookbook, and I'm going to show you your recipe, and I'm going to give you a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to give, actually, like I said, we're going to do 2 different dishes. The first dish is, again, your recipe. We're going to start with roasting the tougher vegetables first. And then we're going to add the not so tough vegetables. Now, in the recipe, it says to just roast the potatoes and the onions together. However, carrots are a tougher vegetable. So I'm going to roast all 3 of these together. All 3 of these together. And the first thing is, yes, I washed all of the vegetables and I got my pan ready. I've been roasting all day long, other things, so I didn't wash my pan. And that's okay because it's just got the same vegetables and oil and salt and pepper on it that I want. And I want you to make note of this. This is a stoneware. Stoneware cooks very evenly, and there's not much need to flip things over and stir things. Not much. There's some, but not as much as a regular pan. Okay. And I love this pan. You do not take soap to this pan. You just scrape off the bits that are on there. Otherwise, you might ruin the seasoning that's on there, the coating, and that's what you want. All right, now let me move some things around because I just realized that I want this pan right here, because what I want to do is I want to, sorry for moving things around already. I'm going to chop and throw in, chop and throw in, chop and throw in. Okay, chop and throw in. I'm going to start with my onion. I love onions in roasted vegetables. Who loves onions in roasted onions? Oh, absolutely miraculous flavor. They caramelize when you roast. Did you know that when you get that nice roast and it's you got some charred bits to it, and I'm not talking burned, I'm talking just some charred bits, that's caramelized. That's when all of the sugars, yes, they're sugars and onions, come out and make it super sweet and yummy and delicious. So of course, the first rule is to get rid of all of this. That, yes, you can make a stock out of it, but I'm too lazy to make stock out of those things. And I do a lot of things from scratch, but stock is just not one of them. I do make a bone broth. But when I do make my bone broth, I'll use a full onion. I'll use a full onion. All right, oven is to temperature. That means it is piping hot, ready for my vegetables. Obviously, I like onions because we're doing 2 onions here. And I'm going to roughly chop the onions. I'm not going to do anything fancy dancy with these onions, but I will remind you that I know some of you have done my cooking class before. If you have, put a 1 in the chat. If you've done my cooking classes before, put a 1 in the chat. But remind you that if it's round, you want to make it flat. Otherwise, it might roll around on you. And we want to keep these beautiful little fingers of yours, okay? So remember, if you don't remember, hold the knife, thumb on one side, index finger on the other, 3 fingers around the handle, okay? If you go here, you could slip. We don't want that, okay? We don't want to slip. We want to keep our fingers. We're going to grip the fingers of the other hand, score the onion just enough, and then chop through, okay? Now, I want you to understand that I use the whole blade. I'll do the other onion. I'll slice it in half. I scored it just a little bit, so it holds still. I'm gripping with my fingers and I'm scoring it, and I'm going to use the entire blade to cut it. Did you notice I didn't cut straight down? I used the whole blade. Now, again, I'm just going to do rough chops on this. So there we go. I'm not going to do the other way. That's it. Big pieces, big pieces. So if you noticed, it can't wiggle around because it's flat. Round things you make flat. If you remember one thing from today's session, it's going to be exactly what I just said. Somebody type it in the chat. Round things, flat. Round things, make them flat. Round things, make them flat. I'm going to trim the ends off of my carrots, trim those ends. And who knows who I'm giving these vegetable scraps to? Does anybody know who I'm giving those vegetable scraps to? I don't have pigs, although the pigs would love the vegetable scraps. I'm giving them to Mother Earth. Round things flat. Yes, round things flat. So once again, the carrot, I'm going to score it, right? Get the fingers out of the way, especially for harder vegetables. And you don't want your finger too close if it's difficult, and you need a little more pressure on the top. So I scored it, right? And now I'm going to close all my fingers, and I'm going to press on the top and press down. Round things, make them flat, okay? Round things, make them flat so that you don't hurt your fingers. Now, I'm not going to chop down like that. You see how much effort I had to put into it? It even hurt my finger here. I'm going to use the whole blade. So much smoother. You're using the blade. When you go straight down, you're not using your blade properly. So glide it through, okay? These got out of line. Glide it through, glide it through, glide it through. Goes much better than just chopping straight down. Remember, never, ever, ever pick up your vegetables with the blade of your knife. And if a piece falls on the floor, don't worry, my dogs get it. So now this one's round, and I'm not going to make it flat until I get to a thicker part. So I have a big handle here, and I'm just going to slice through. Once again, you see how I'm slicing through, not chopping down, okay? I'm slicing through using my whole knife, okay? Yeah, carrots take a little longer to cook than, say, squash or string beans and such. So that's why I'm putting the carrots in with the potatoes. There we go. Again, use the whole blade. Use the whole blade. All right. Oops, let me just use my vegetable picker-upper so I don't get them all over the floor. My dog loves carrots, raw carrots, and one of my dogs loves it. My other dogs could care less about any vegetables, whether they're cooked or raw. Potatoes, I love these baby potatoes. They are full of flavor. So all I'm going to do is cut them in half and then cut them in half again. Cut them in half, cut them in half again. Do you see how I'm getting my fingers out of the way? Get your fingers out of the way. In half and in half. Okay, this is a chef's knife. And you see these holes or these ridges here. What it does, it helps to not take the vegetable away with you, although it happened a couple of times on that. But it helps to release the vegetable from the knife, okay? That's why a chef knife is really important. Also, I want you to remember that a dull knife is a dangerous knife. So get your knives sharpened. I don't care if they're Walmart knives. It doesn't matter. Just make sure your knives are nice and sharp. I know we go to my mother-in-law's house and they always get me to trim the turkey. Well, now I know to bring A, my sharp knives, and B, which knives to bring so that I don't wreck the turkey, okay, or the ham or whatnot, okay. Here we go. If you have any questions about knife skills, about potatoes, about roasting vegetables, you just let me know. Put it in the chat. And if I don't see the chat for some reason, don't you worry. Caitlin is right there and she will see it for me. The bottom line is you want to make all of your vegetable pieces about the same size so that at least the harder ones, they cook evenly. Okay. And that's the idea, for them to cook evenly. Almost done with all of my potatoes. All of my potatoes. There we go. Now, if you noticed in this particular pan, hold on, let me move this aside. Let me bring my pan to the center here. In this pan, the recipe calls for zucchini squash and, yellow squash and string beans to be added to this dish. There's not a ton of room for it. So I'm actually going to cook those separate. Okay. It also calls for red bell peppers. And unfortunately, I have a very hard time with peppers sometimes, and I forgot to buy them too. So I'm not going to do the pretty red peppers in our dish, but I've got some other surprises for you that are wonderful. So you see what I did? I just separated my onions. There we go. And some people say put everything in a bowl and then stir it up with a spoon and a fork and your salt and pepper and all that. But why? Don't have to dirty more things. You don't have to dirty more things. I'm going to add garlic to this because garlic is absolutely amazing for you. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antimicrobial. So is coconut oil, same exact. And we don't want to use garlic salt. I don't want you to use garlic salt in your life, okay? Why? Because garlic salt is using sodium chloride. Also, the garlic has been high heat, and it has completely nullified all of the immune boosting properties. Gone. Look how easy it is to press raw garlic, and you're going to get so much health and abundance and energy from having a strong immune system. That's what we need. We need a strong immune system every day of our lives, and fresh garlic is the way to do it. And we're also going to use not the sodium chloride that has zero benefits for your body, zero. We're going to use sea salt. Okay, now why do I use sea salt? Does anybody here know why sea salt is more important? Feel free to type it in the chat. Otherwise, you know, I'm going to tell you, right? Okay, that's enough for the garlic for now until next time. And I'm just going to wipe the garlic off my fingers for a moment. And sea salt is really important because it is full of minerals. Our soil is depleted of the minerals, okay? The soil that we grow our vegetables on is depleted. And in order to get the minerals that we need, sea salt has them, 78 plus minerals, incredibly good for you. When it comes to salt, yes, you can use your half a teaspoon and do this, but cut it out. Use your fingers, get used to how much salt is in your fingers and how much salt you need to put on your dish. And I can actually figure it out and then put back what I don't need. My whole life, sale grande, which is the large salt, I'm Italian, and then sale fino, which is the fine salt in the other one. Sale grande, the big one we use for certain things. The fino, the small, the fine one we use for things like so, okay? So we've got our salt on there. We're going to put some freshly ground black pepper. Remember, salt enhances the flavor of food. And also you can always add it, but you can't take it away. Sea salt is actually less salty than sodium chloride. So if you see me using a lot, don't you fret. That's all I use at the house is sea salt. And when I go to restaurants, things just taste, and I love salt, things just taste too salty for me because they put too much of the sodium chloride in. It's not sea salt, which is a better food for you than the sodium chloride. I think you get the idea. So there you go. You got your garlic, you got your salt, you got your pepper. We're going to get our olive oil, and we're just going to lightly drizzle about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil right on top. I'm not even going to mix it. I'm not even going to mix it. Now, the idea is that we're going to roast this for about 15 minutes and then add the string beans, add the zucchini, but I'm actually going to do the string beans and the zucchini in a separate pan. I think I'm going to do it in a separate pan. Yeah, I got them. Okay. So this is going right in the oven. I'll be right back. Okay, 15-minute timer, my dear. Please, Caitlin, 15-minute timer. Now, in the other pan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the vegetables that take a little less time to roast. And I have to tell you, I have a friend who is having surgery, and all of this food is going to go to her. Most of it anyway. Most of this food's going to go to her. So it's good that I'm cooking a whole bunch. Now, if you didn't want to cook a whole tray full, you could have done half of the potatoes, half of the carrots, half of the onions, and had a half a tray. And then you could have added the rest of these vegetables on top of it. But my mom has always said, cook once, eat twice. Cook once, eat twice. So let's eat twice. Actually, 5 times we'll probably eat from that. My husband and I will get some of it, and the rest will go to our friends that would like it and need it. Okay. So now I'm going to prepare the next pan. I'm going to prepare the next pan of softer vegetables, and those are our zucchini, or excuse me, I always call yellow squash zucchini. It just is a faux pas, not a faux pas. That's the wrong word. It's just something I do, which is, I don't understand why I call zucchini squash and squash zucchini or something like that. Little backwards thing for me. Okay. I'm just trimming off the ends. And again, round things. What do we do with round things? Put it in the chat. What do we do with round things? We make them flat. Here we go. We make round things flat. Round things flat. Here we go. Okay, nice big chunks. I'm not going to put this in the oven yet, okay? Next, I'm going to get some wonderful green beans. Now, I call them string beans. I've always called them string beans, and many people call them green beans. I think they're the same bean. They're the same bean. And these are French beans that I don't mind eating the ends. And take a look and see if any of the ends need to be trimmed off. If there's anything that's brown, get rid of it. That was an extra string. Look, this is a black one. You want to get rid of that. So just kind of sort through them and see what looks good and what doesn't look good. And again, I'm just going to roughly chop them, and I don't want big pieces for this. I want them at least in thirds, okay? And because I was too lazy to line them all up, you know, here's the thing. I say that I'm lazy, but it's not true that I'm lazy. It's that I'm hungry. My husband's hungry. You're hungry. Your family's hungry. And we don't have a ton of time to dilly-dally in the kitchen. Exercise is important too, and you need the time to do all of those things. So take some shortcuts. It's perfectly fine to take some shortcuts. So I've got our green beans. I've got our yellow squash, I wanted to call it zucchini again, softer vegetables. Now, if I had mushrooms, you can put mushrooms in here, but the other, oh, you know what? I have a third zucchini. Again, see, I call it zucchini. What's the matter with me? I have a third yellow squash. Let me chop this one up. I almost forgot about it. Okay, we'll do this one too. Okay. This is going to be a delicious dish. Now, what I'm going to do in this dish, I'm going to do the salt, pepper, the olive oil, but I'm also going to put some lemon juice in here. Okay, see what I did? I dried my fingers before I put them in the salt, just so that the salt doesn't stick completely to my fingers. I hope I'm not out of pepper. This is getting a little on the low side, but that's okay. It's because I use a lot of it. Okay, here we go. A little bit of pepper. We got the salt, we got the pepper, and always do the seasoning first and then put the olive oil and or lemon juice on top. So same thing, drizzle your olive oil. Olive oil is very, very, very good for your heart. And I want you to remember, when you buy olive oil, buy them in smaller bottles, dark glass bottles. You don't want to buy them in plastic, because the oil can leach the plastic into the oil, which is a xenoestrogen and could cause cancer, could promote cancer, I should say. And Never buy light olive oil because it's light in flavor, not light in calories. Just know it's really good for your heart to have some olive oil, some good olive oil in your life. We go through olive oil like crazy in this house. Now, on top of this, I'm going to juice some lemon. Okay, just a little bit. Where's my lemon juicer? If you don't have one of these handy dandy lemon juicers, you know, I never thought that I was a gadget girl, but guess what? I realized I am a gadget girl. I learned to cook with a fork and a knife and a spoon, and we didn't have a lot of gadgets growing up, but I like my gadgets. And by the way, you can use this to disinfect your sink. By all means, disinfect your sink with that. Okay, so I'm gonna, now the recipe that I was given does not call for lemon juice in here, but I decided I want a little bit of lemon juice in here. The lemon juice will really make this. When all of these vegetables come out of the oven, by the way, you can either mix them all up or put them separate in the dish. Now, the other part of the lemon, you're going to roast this lemon. It's going to be beautiful. Watch this. We're going to slice this lemon, skin and all. This piece is a little precarious, so when you're holding a knife, I want to make mention of something. I want you to be incredibly intentional when you're holding a knife. Don't get distracted. Don't be watching the kids play or anything. Stay present with the knife and your fingers, okay? Now, this piece is a little on the precarious side, and I had to stop and I had to think for a moment. Don't slice your fingers, or do it properly. So what I did is I held it properly, gripped it, and now I'm going to score it with the knife like I showed you, and I'm just going to slice through. Okay, this way I save my fingers, right? And yep, we're going to roast the lemon right in there like so. We're going to roast it in there just like that. We're going to wait for that 15 minutes to pop, and then we'll put these in the oven as well for about 30 minutes, and then we'll see what those look like. Okay. All right. Any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. And if you're just joining us, and I didn't say hello to you, go ahead and type in that chat box where you're calling in from and what is your favorite holiday. I would love to know what your favorite holiday is. Now, as all of that stuff is cooking, the next thing I want to make is oregano chicken. Okay, some oregano chicken. I'm going to turn the oven on. Let me do that first. Okay, I'm going to cook my chicken in my convection oven in my little, it's an Emerald Lagasse. I use it as a toaster. I made a cheesecake in it earlier. I always cook in that. So I turn that on. So that is preheating. We always want to put our food into a hot oven. Otherwise it steams. You don't want that. Okay, we don't want to steam. I have my chicken laid out on a plate. I'm not going to touch it with my hands. I've got my tongs, because if you touch meat, do not touch anything else. Go wash your hands. Okay. I went to the DC Metro cooking show this past weekend, and I watched some chefs cook for us, and yeah, they're touching meat and then wiping it off on a towel. No, it's still on your hands. It makes me crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, when it comes to this oregano chicken, the recipe calls for breadcrumbs. Well, I'm gluten intolerant, and I don't do breadcrumbs, and breadcrumbs are really difficult on the digestive system, or gluten breads are very difficult on the digestive system. So instead of glutinous flours, what we're going to do is, give me a couple seconds, I want to see something, is I'm going to use an almond flour. Okay, almond is just crushed up almonds. Wheat and breadcrumbs, first of all, breadcrumbs I've read the ingredients on breadcrumbs because my mom used it all the time, but I won't eat what she makes with the breadcrumbs, is full of MSG as well as rancid oils. MSG is a substance that they add to foods to make the foods taste good, so that you don't eat just one. You eat more and you come back for more. However, it's non-nutritive, and it passes that blood-brain barrier, and it goes to your brain cells that are most susceptible and excites them so much until they die. I don't want you to lose any more brain cells, okay? And who's most susceptible? But our children and our elderly. Let's save them, and let's do some things that do not have MSG in it. MSG can be hidden under 78 plus different words, and it's a marketing game. It's really, really, really sad. Also, gluten could give you what is it called? Leaky gut syndrome. Leaky gut syndrome. Oh, you know what I forgot? I'm going to go back for a step. And if you have any questions on that, by all means, I just don't want to bore you with all of that talk. This is thyme. This is fresh thyme. And this plant it's seen its last days. It's not going to live past the next couple of days. So I'm just going to I thought I was going to try to bring it back, but having a hard time with it. Maybe I'll see if that will come back. But I'm going to get the fresh herb and I'm going to put the fresh herbs over this as well. Okay. And also what I should have put on the potatoes, which is per the recipe, is some dried thyme. So you can do the dried thyme, you can do the fresh thyme. I almost forgot to do that. Okay, there we go. All right, back to our chicken dish. Back to our chicken dish. By the way, I love my kitchen scissors. Love them, love them, love them. Back to our chicken dish. I'm going to get some Parmesan cheese. Oh, breaded chicken with Parmesan cheese, just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of some Parmesan cheese in there. Okay. And let's put that away. We're going to put a little bit of oregano. Maybe about a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. And look, yes, this is oregano chicken, but if you don't like oregano, I'm even mentioning this is because my mom hates oregano, hates it. I don't understand why she hates it so much. And she's Italian, off the boat Italian. So you're going to put your salt, you're going to put your pepper, freshly ground black pepper. Salt enhances the flavor of food. Black pepper alters the flavor of food. And I'm out. That's okay. I can refill it later. Okay. So let me see if I forgot anything in here. We've got breadcrumbs or almond crumbs, Parmesan cheese, oregano. Do not use the garlic salt. We're going to put real garlic in here and pepper. Okay. Ready? We're going to put more real garlic in here. And you remember why we need real garlic, because it boosts the immune system. And we need as much boosting as we can possibly get in our lives, right? Garlic salt, high heat. There's nothing there for you. You might get a little flavor out of it, but you're also getting that sodium chloride. So use the sea salt and real garlic. Or you know what? There's nothing, try garlic powder. If you're like, I always use garlic salt, try garlic powder and sea salt. Okay. At least you'll get the flavor of the garlic. You just won't get the immune boosting properties of it. Okay. And I think 2 cloves. Let's do these little tiny pieces and then we can be done with the garlic. There we go. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Got our garlic going. Got our immune boosting. Yes. Immune boosting. Okay, here we go. Gonna mix that all up. Here are our almond crumbs. Almond crumbs. You ever hear of pecan crusted fish or pecan crusted chicken? This is almond crusted chicken. You can even get almonds and put them in your food processor and make a flour out of it. Pecans, same thing. Put them in the food processor and make a breading out of it. I'm going to put my chicken on a stoneware. This is my bar pan. That's from the Parmesan cheese. And actually, yeah, let's do this. Okay, I'm going to transfer my chicken to my bar pan. And I'm going to coat my chicken with Dijon mustard. Now, you could make an egg, whip up a couple eggs. This is the way my mom always taught me to do it. You whip up a couple eggs, dip the chicken in egg, and then dip the chicken in the breadcrumbs. Try this with the mustard. Mustard, it keeps the moisture in, and it's going to make your chicken breast so moist and delicious. You're going to have perfect chicken breasts every single time. Okay, we're going to put a little bit more on the other side. Be liberal with it. Do this with salmon. This is my favorite thing to do with salmon, as mustard and a little bit of almond crumbs on the top. Garlicky almond crumbs. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, here we go. All right, we are ready to dip this in the breadcrumbs. I'm just going to dip it a couple of times, roll it around. There we go. We'll do this piece here. Okay, I'm having a hard time doing it with that, so I'm just going to wash my hands after this. It's so much easier to do things with your hands than tools. sometimes, and I was trying to avoid having to wash my hands in the middle of a cooking show, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you just got to do it. Now, the rest of these crumbs, you're going to throw them away or pack them on. That's what I always do, is I just pack them on because they're so nutritious and so good for you. So we're just packing them on. Not going to hurt a thing. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands and I'll be right back.
And Tina, your timer is going off for the oven.
Oh, very good. Thank you, dear. That means that it's time to put this in the oven. Okay, let's put this in the oven. Give me a second. And the onions and the potatoes and the carrots are roasting beautifully. So now I will show them to you at the end of the show. So Caitlin, let me know in about 20 minutes and I'll pull them out. They're not going to be done because the zucchini and string beans probably need a good 30-35 minutes. That's all good. This chicken is ready to go in the oven. All right, there we have it. I'll be right back. Let me put this in the oven. I'm going to cook it for about 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cook it for about 20 minutes and then I'm going to check the temperature. Okay, and I'm going to check the temperature with an instant read thermometer. Yes, I love gadgets. Who remembers just like having to cut open their chicken? Is it done? Is it done? And you're taking a risk, right? You're taking a risk that it's done. With the thermometer, you know that when it's at 160, it's done. It's technically 165. However, when it's done, you're going to let it rest for a few minutes. It's going to continue to cook. If you feel better making it go to 165, then that's perfectly fine as well. Okay. Now, I promised to talk to you about something else while everything is cooking, because those are our two recipes. Let's talk about the next thing that we're going to do. A couple of things. Okay. Couple of things. First of all, and I'm going to get a bowl to put this in because I didn't do this yet. Okay. Earlier today, I got some butternut squash. I cubed it along with carrots and I roasted them. A little bit of salt, a little bit of olive oil, not even pepper in this one, because I make this butternut squash casserole with pecan crunch on the top that has 0 sugar in it. 0 sugar. Actually, it has a little bit of maple syrup. This one has a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of pumpkin pie spice, a little bit of coconut milk in the creamed mixture. I put it in the what do you call it? The food processor and make it real creamy. And then I get pecans and sunflower seeds and coconut chips and I put it on the top and then it's already cooked. So then you just kind of bake it for 30 minutes to heat it through and then you serve it. And this has been the hit of my family for the last month and a half, but I just wanted to show you the butternut squash. And if I have time, I'll show you how to cut a butternut squash. Okay, got it. Sorry, I'm just reading something over there. All right, next, what I want to show you, awesome stuff, okay, is you don't have to stick with the basics, the onions, the carrots, the celery, the what do we have in there? And the zucchini, the string beans in a roasted vegetable. What about roasting some other kind of vegetables? So today I just want to introduce you to other vegetables. Who knows what this is? Put it in the chat if you know what this is, if you know what this is, and if you know what, yeah, that one. And then there's this one here, okay? And of course, there's this little one in the front. We'll put that in the front. And I have 2 of those. I've got 2 of the, we're only gonna do 1 of them, okay? All right, obviously we know what this is. A beet and a turnip. All right, Haley, good. So here's our beet. Here's the turnip. Hold on a second. Yep, that's the rutabaga. Okay, this is the turnip. That's the turnip. And this is, what is this, Haley? What is this one? That's the beet. The second one in is what? What is this one? This is the rutabaga. This is a turnip. Rutabaga, turnip, rutabaga, turnip. I love rutabaga roasted. I also love them in a beef stew. I love them in beef stew. Oh, love them in beef stew. And what else do we have? Who knows what this is? Does anybody know what this is? It's kind of funky looking, isn't it? It's called a kohlrabi. Kohlrabi. Okay. It's in the brassica family. It's kind of like broccoli. If you've ever eaten the stem of broccoli, that's what this tastes like. It's a little harder though. So what we're going to do is I'm going to chop these up and we're going to roast these as well. They're going to be caramelized and they're going to be amazing. Now you want to roast, like I said before, like vegetables. Or like vegetables. And hard. Brussels sprouts are on the harder side. You want to roast those together. You don't want to roast like the yellow squash along with this because they're going to cook a lot easier, a lot quicker. Even the butternut squash is going to cook a lot quicker than any of these. Okay, this cooks really, really fast. And if we have time, I can introduce you to some other squashes that I have over there. All right, so you ready? What I did, where's my little scrubby dub? What I did is I washed all of these vegetables and I scrubbed them. Okay, I always scrub my vegetables, especially the beets. I don't like to have to peel beets because the peel has got a lot of vitamins and nutrients for you. You don't have to peel it when you're roasting. The rutabaga, the turnip, the kohlrabi, you're going to want to peel these. They don't taste all that good. I should get my peeler out. Where is my peeler? I think it's in the wash, but here's another one. Okay. Always have two of everything. I have to, being that I cook all the time. All right, I'm going to get my chef's knife and I'm going to trim the end off. Just trim that piece off and I'm going to trim that piece off. Again, they're already scrubbed. I'm giving the scraps back to Mother Nature. Remember what I said about round things? Who remembers? What do you do with round things? Just getting those out of my way. Have a nice clean working area. Okay. Round things, you make them flat. Round things, you make them flat. Now I'm going to see it's already flat because I trimmed the end off, but I still need to cut it in half, right? So I'm going to score it just a little bit. Now, since it's tall and I'm not so tall, I'm going to get up on my tippy toes. Close your fingers and press straight down. Okay. Just because it's a little bit of a harder vegetable. I want to do something here. Give me a second, okay? This is going to stain my wood because my wooden cutting board. So I'm going to get my white cutting board out and this I can actually bleach if I wanted to, even though I don't really use bleach that much. Okay. Beets stain. But the beauty of beets is that it's really good for your blood. It's really good for your circulatory system. Okay. So I'm just going to chop up my beets and throw them in there. If you want to make thinner slices, you can make thinner slices. You want to try to make everything about the same size. And if you don't, that's okay too. That's okay too. So there we go. I got my slices and in they go. Let me get the other beet. Trim off the ends. Remember, score the top. Use the entire knife as you're cutting through. And here we go. Nice slices. Really good for your heart. Now remember, I wanted you to know that if you have a little bit of redness in your urine or in your bowel movements and you had beets, it's likely because you had beets. Just double check the next day that you don't have beets, that you still don't have that redness in there. Okay. Next, we're going to do a rutabaga and we're going to have to cut that rutabaga. Take the skin off that rutabaga because it's bitter. You don't want to eat that. Okay. Now you can either do it the way I did it with the knife. I've always been taught to peel towards me. See how I'm doing it towards me. And I don't know how fair that is to show you to do this if you don't know how to hold a knife like I've been since I was a little girl. Okay. You can get your vegetable peeler and hold it, get your fingers out of the way and peel down. Okay. I think the knife is a little easier than this, but you know, To each their own, whichever makes it easier for you and you don't cut yourself, okay? Because you have beautiful fingers and you want to keep them, and you want to keep your beautiful fingers. Okay, good. So that is now peeled. I'm going to give my scraps back to who? To Mother Nature. Giving them back to Mother Nature. Okay. Same thing here. It's round, but it's on the flat side, right? It's on the flat side. I'm still going to cut it in half and then cut it in slices. Here we go. If you want to make them more into chunks, you're welcome to. You're welcome to, and you don't have to. Okay, you don't have to. You can just throw them in big pieces. The smaller pieces will caramelize a little bit better. So sometimes it is better to have smaller pieces. So we're just going to do like so. Experiment with different root vegetables to see which ones you like. I'm doing a whole bunch of them all in this mix today. So that was the rutabaga. This is the turnip. We're going to peel the turnip. Let me see if I can do it better with this. Different vegetables have different nutritional value for you. So make sure that you don't just eat broccoli every single day. But broccoli is awesome for you. It's awesome for your brain. It's awesome for many, many, many things. But mix it up a little bit. Mix it up and try some turnips. They didn't have parsnips at the store. Otherwise, I would have gotten parsnips. Parsnips look like carrots, but they're white. Now, I think I said this before, but when you're even using a slicer or a knife, be very intentional with it. Pay attention. When I look up at the camera, I stop using it. Okay, otherwise you could hurt yourself. And there's no hurting yourself. None, not allowed. It's funny, I leave the skin on most vegetables, even a lot of my squashes, but the butternut squash I definitely peel. I'll show you the squashes in a little bit. We should have time for all of it. Okay, round things, let's make it flat. I'm gonna cut that again. I'm gonna cut that again. Here we go. This one I decided to make chunks out of. Okay, if you guys are having fun, if you're having fun, put fun in the chat. If you're having a good time, if you're learning a lot of stuff and you're having fun, put fun in that chat box. Here we go. All right. Throw those in. So we've got beets, rutabaga, turnips, and next we're going to do a kohlrabi. Next we're going to put the kohlrabi in there. Again, I just want to show you a variety so that you can get a variety of vegetables in your life and try them. Kohlrabi is wonderful. I love it. I like it raw too. It's wonderful raw, and it's even better roasted. Roasting just brings up the flavor, makes it beautiful. I love it. All right. So I didn't, it's a thicker skin, so I didn't want to use my vegetable peeler for this one. Okay, here we go. Who is that? Brigida? Is that your name, Brigida? I love your name. Beautiful name. Beautiful name. You're having fun. Good. I'm so glad. Oh, and Haley's having fun. Crano. Oh my gosh, I can't see anymore. It's terrible. I'm glad you're having fun. That's good. That's really good. I'll tell you, I'm so tempted to eat a piece of this right now as I'm chopping it. I love kohlrabi and I haven't had it in a little while. And fresh, slice this up and just eat it as a snack. It is wonderful. Now, if you wanted to, you can put a couple of Brussels sprouts in there, but I would keep them larger. Okay, I would keep them larger. Don't slice them. Don't make little slices out of the Brussels sprouts. Yeah, maybe just keep them in half or in thirds. You can throw those in there for a little bit of green color. Ooh, a little Christmassy with the red and the green. Yes. Yes, this is going to look beautiful. It's going to look beautiful. Okay. Just trim it off the ends, chop it in half. There we go. Always have your pan right here so you can just throw it right in. Throw it right in as you're going along, okay? Do a couple more of these because food, it's important to have the presentation because appetite starts with the eyes when you see food. That's why when you go to restaurants, the food is always presented beautifully, okay? Because they want you to have an appetite to eat it and to love it, right? The cooking show that I went to, she does Brussels sprout flowers, not the flowers, what are these called? Petals, Brussels sprout petals. And so she painstakingly takes apart that little Brussels sprout and cooks them up. Like, what a pain to do that. But hey, they were wonderful, but it was a pain. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I could put onions in here. There's not a ton more room, but look how pretty. It's got the red, it's got the green, it's got a little white. What color are we missing? There we go. Okay, so I'm just mixing them all up just so that you can see how pretty they are. Now, on top of this, we're going to put same stuff. We're going to put some sea salt. I've run out of pepper, so I'll put that in later. And some olive oil. Here you go. Drizzle it on. I don't even stir it up, especially when you cook in stoneware. You don't really have to stir it up. You just don't. Now I'm going to roast this again at 425 for about 45 minutes. Now let's see what we've got going on over here. The chicken has got about 5 minutes left. I'm not sure about the roasted vegetables, so I'm going to check them right now. Yeah, they look beautiful. They look absolutely beautiful. Let me move this. Okay, here are our potatoes and carrots and onions. You know, remember I didn't stir this before I put it in, but I'm going to stir it up right now. And I checked the potato to see if it's done. How do I know it's done? That I can press through it without too much resistance, okay? The other way I know that this is done is if I start to see some caramelization. And the caramelization, I'll show you on my butternut squash that I made earlier. You see those brown spots? That's caramelization. That's the sugars being cooked and roasted and bringing up what's called umami. Umami is flavor. So you can have that party in your mouth. That is the roasted flavor. And these need a good, I would say, another 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to get that caramelization. They're almost done, but not quite, not to my liking. They're al dente right now. They're al dente. So I'm going to put these back in the oven and cook them for another 10 minutes. Okay, let's take a look at the zucchini. I mean, not the zucchini. See, I always want to call it zucchini, but it's not zucchini. Okay, it's not good to open and close your oven all the time. But this is the squash and the string beans. The smell of the fresh thyme is just absolutely wonderful. These are definitely not cooked. This definitely needs another probably 30 minutes of cooking time, okay? And I did not even need to take it out and stir it because it's in a stoneware. So I'm going to put this back in the oven. But look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful that is. We're going to check the chicken in about 3 minutes. Every time you open the oven, you let heat out. So it takes a little bit more time for it to come up to temperature. So try to open your oven as least as possible, as little as possible. All right, I'm trying to think of what else I promised to talk to you about. Oh, I know. I promised to talk to you a little bit about different squashes, right? And we have a little bit of time. Now, before I get into the squashes, and then we'll check the chicken, okay, is Caitlin is going to put in the chat a couple of links. She's going to put in a link to my cooking show, and you can join me on YouTube and watch me on YouTube whenever you'd like. And please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really love you and appreciate you for that. And secondly, she's going to give you my Joyful Gut Reboot Guide. And it's a free ebook that I wrote for you to just show you the things that you can do, the small things that you can do so you could have a joyful gut. Because when your gut is happy and joyful, the rest of you is happy and joyful. And if you look closely in that book, if you look closely, you will find a breakthrough session with me. All you have to do is click on that link and fill out an application, and we can talk, and I can give you a free coaching session. It's $350 value at zero cost. Yeah. So you have that. Also, after I'm done with this, I'd love to know what you found most valuable about our time together today. So let's talk about some winter squashes. Here's a butternut squash. It's delicious. It's sweet. I make soups out of it. I already showed you that I roasted it with the carrots, and I'm going to make that casserole with that. I love butternut squash. Now, in order to cook butternut squash, you can peel it, you can cube it and roast it like I did, or you can simply slice it in half, flesh side down in a roasting pan, poke some holes in it, and roast it for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes at 350. Once it's soft, basically you poke a knife through and it goes right through. Then it's done. You take it out, let it cool, and take the flesh out with a spoon, okay? And eat it that way. And then you can throw it into soups, stews, anything, or you do it like that and you make the casserole. Now, this other one is called a honey nut squash. Kind of looks like a butternut squash, but it is about 20 times sweeter. It's why they call it a honey nut squash. With this one, I don't even slice it in half. I poke holes in it. I put it in the oven, and in about 30 minutes, I take it out, slice it in half, and scoop out the flesh and eat it with a spoon. You don't need anything on it. It is absolutely delicious. The next squash I want to talk about has been my demo squash for a while, and it's got to go to compost because I've had it for a little while, but it's called Delicata Squash. Delicata Squash is like, you can eat the skin of it. It's super delicious. What I do is I slice it real thin and I put it on the cookie sheet, not a cookie sheet, the baking sheet, a little bit of salt, pepper, olive oil, super simple. You don't need a lot. And then roast it for about 30, 40 minutes. It's like candy. It comes out like chips, actually. It comes out like potato chips. They're wonderful. So slice them real thin. This here is an acorn squash. Acorn squash, you can also eat the skin of the acorn squash. I slice it on the thin side, kind of like the delicata squash, and cook it exactly like the delicata squash. If you don't like the skin, it's a thinner skin, just like that one is, so it's easy to eat. Then you can do the same thing with that I told you with the butternut squash. Cut it in half, flesh side down, poke holes in it, cook it, bake it 350 for about 30 minutes. So there's also the spaghetti squash, which you cook the same way you do the butternut squash, flesh side down, poke holes in it. I just don't have one here today. All right, so that's all of our squashes. I heard a bell. That means that our chicken might be done, but we're not sure. So let's go check it. Let's go check our chicken. Okay, it looks beautiful. It looks done, but how are we supposed to make sure it's done? Number one, you can do the press test. You press it down. I can tell that that one's not done. And this one might be almost done. If I had to guess, should I guess the temperature of these? I might have to guess the temperature of these. This one might be 130. That one might be 110. Okay, because it's a smaller piece. So let's see. Ooh, I was wrong. This one's at 150. Don't touch the pan. And if there's bone, don't touch the bone. Okay, it'll be colder if you touch the bone. So this one is 127. All right, so they both need a little bit more time in the oven. This one, because it's a smaller piece, I'm probably going to take out in 10 minutes. That one probably in 15 minutes. Okay, so let's put that back in the oven. Put that on for 10 minutes so that I can watch it. And because the roasted vegetables are going to take time to finish cooking, I'm not going to be able to plate them for you because they take so long to roast. But that's our show for today. You've got your roasted vegetables, and I showed you all the different kinds of vegetables. I showed you all the different kinds of squashes that we have. I showed you how to cook the oregano almond flour crusted chicken that is super healthy and super delicious for you. And thank you, Caitlin, for putting those links in the chat box there. So yes, please subscribe to my cooking show. It's tinamcdermott.com/cooking show. And if you want that Joyful Gut ebook guide, Just it's tinamcdermott.com/JG, and you can download that guide. I'd love to know, what have you found most valuable about our time together today? What is that one or two things that you are going to take away and say, yes, I'm going to start implementing that in my life so that I can be healthy, vibrant, and free? What are those things? Yeah, just think about those things. I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for taking the time to watch this show, to learn how to cook healthy so that you can be vibrant and free for yourself and your family. I want to say have the most amazing holiday season, celebrating with your family and your friends. And remember, this is a season and a time for love and for joy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And until next time, namaste. Bye for now, everyone. Have an amazing holiday season. Merry Christmas. Bye for now.